This podcast is not sponsored or supported by any business or organization. The views reflected on these podcast episodes are my own. Please be aware I am not a medical expert, travel agent, or any other kind of expert. Hey everyone! Welcome to the Eat, Explore, Love podcast. I'm Ashley. This podcast is based off of my blog of the same name, Eat, Explore, Love. It talks about the unique challenges in traveling around the world when you have celiac disease. Due to sort of popular demand, I decided to also record a podcast to delve a little deeper into my travels and the lessons learned along the way. You guys, recording this episode was another amazing experience for me. Andres Schabelman was incredibly kind and created a space where this was a true conversation about home and the impact of travel. Traveling might seem glamorous and luxurious to folks seeing from the outside, which most of the time it is, but it does take a toll on you and your growth as a human being. And that's what we're talking about on this episode of Eat, Explore, Love, the podcast. Hi, Andres. Thank you so much for joining Eat, Explore, Love, the podcast. I'm so excited to be chatting with you today.
I'm excited to be chatting with you.
So I did some research on you, obviously, before coming into this podcast, but I would love to hear in your own words, who are you?
Who am I? Wow. Well, I hate answering this question, but
Yes, I know.
I know that we have to.
Yeah.
But I really don't. But like, this is my way of answering the question.
Mhm.
Like, I don't like labels. I feel like I fall a little bit outside of the box. I grew up in New Orleans. My family's from Argentina. I'm a product of Argentine Jewish immigrants to New Orleans. Before Argentina, my ancestors were in Ukraine and Moldova region. And I think that also explains a lot of my moving around and finding jobs that have me on the road a lot. I was an early Airbnb employee. I went to the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, so I got fancy degrees. And then at the end of the day, I'm also a traveler, and so I've started creating content around my own search for home as a content creator, and I also have a comedic expression online. I'm publishing a book in December, and I am all over the place, but in a focused and intentional way.
I love that. My goal is to end up being able to say a similar thing to what you just said. So that's awesome. So what you credit your family history and ancestral path journey to your wanderlust, is that pretty much hearing stories growing up about your family ancestry that triggered that love for you? Or what, for me it was reading books and watching The Sound of Music that made me want to travel. So
Mm.
um is there anything that you could point of reference as well to that, or
Yeah, well, I have like two things to say. One is it's very clear to me that the wanderlust was partially um, a positive
Mhm.
um, aspect of my ancestry, i.e., my mom was such an explorer, and my parents really took me traveling from an early age and inspired a sense of wanderlust and exploration really early on. But on the other side of it, I understand that my ancestors were often persecuted and pushed
Mhm.
out of certain places for their beliefs. And I have a sense that some of my own wanderlust isn't just wanderlust, it's also it comes from a place of fear, and it
Mm,
comes from a place of ancestral trauma.
mm,
And so I think that's something I've been trying to kind of like untangle, is
mm.
like, what is the part of me that wants to go on the road that has to do with just the love of exploration, and what part of me kind of like gets up and leaves from a place of fear.
Yeah, what part of it is inherited almost in your genes and your DNA? Yeah.
Yeah, that, and like also this concept of like, what are you running towards and what are you running away from?
Yeah. Have you don't have we don't have to talk about this or include this in the
We
podcast,
can.
but have you figured that out for yourself or
Well, I'm figuring it out. I mean, I think a lot of this content piece that I do on the road in the travel space, which is about my own search for home and identity, which interviews other people about their concept of home and their
Mm,
concept of identity, I think has really been teaching me a little bit about like, well, what does like home and what does identity mean? Two things that I've kind of like pushed away as like someone who's a traveler, as I'm sure you know, you kind of like meld to other people's maybe identities, and you like really want to soak it all in, and so you kind of lose a part of yourself as a part of the process of like integrating in other cultures, which is so beautiful too.
mhm.
But I'm in this like place of kind of like reclaiming what it is that I am in the context of being in the presence of other cultures and other perspectives. And I think, yeah, I mean, I think that's something I'm I am figuring out, and really pushing myself to be uncomfortable in places that in the past I would have like run away from.
Mm.
So, for example, really investing in and integrating into one community of people that really like see me.
Yeah.
Um, or I just on July 5th, a couple weeks ago, I moved into an apartment in Miami
Mm,
just to feel into what it's like to like settle into a place.
yeah. I actually was just having this conversation with my grandparents yesterday
Yeah.
because another family member of mine asked when I was coming back home. And
Mm.
I kind of had an existential crisis reading that email from them of being like, I don't know where home is anymore because I was just moving and moving and moving for probably this is the first time in 3 years where I don't have a trip planned, where I'm not
Wow.
on the move to go someplace. And it's kind of freaking me out a little bit. And I don't know what to do with that because I don't like having to think about being in one place anymore because I don't feel like I have a home
Yeah.
anymore. My home is the world, so to speak. So I'm
When
having a similar journey to what you're figuring out right now, but from a different
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
I'm curious, when you got that email from, it was your grandparents?
It was my other grandmother, actually. Yeah. I was talking with my
Nice.
grandparents about my other grandmother's email. Yeah.
Well, I was curious if what you felt in that moment when you got that email was partially a sense of pressure and obligation that you were uncomfortable with, and I'm curious if that came up for you.
Oh, interesting. A little, to be fully transparent, yes, probably. I come from my mother's side of the family is Irish, but my father's side, which is where that email came from, is Italian. And we all grew up within 5 minutes of each other. No one ventured out too far when I moved an hour away. I grew up on Long Island. So when I
Yeah.
moved from one county to another, which was an hour's drive, if that, away, that was like crazy. And the fact that I gave up a home address and went to go travel the world was even exploded minds even more. And so I think in their eyes, I will not be home until I am back within a 5 minute radius of living with all of them. And
Well,
yeah, that's just the Italian way.
yeah, but I think what I hear in there also is something that resonates with me, which is that sometimes um, home comes with, home as in like being home with family,
Mm,
can sometimes be a bit of, it can be an attack on our own sense of self,
yeah,
like where we lose ourself.
yeah.
And so it's hard for us to consider home as home because when we're there in that place, we're further away from ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I was particularly drawn to to this idea of the pressure
Yeah.
aspect, because perhaps there are ways in which you can come back to yourself
Yeah.
when you're in the presence of your family members and back home,
Yeah.
so that you don't have to feel like you're abandoning yourself
Yeah.
in the presence of your family.
It's interesting because I always felt like a fish out of water all growing up in the area that I did. And I don't feel that I got to know myself. I just turned 29. So I don't feel I got to know myself up until within the last year.
Mm.
Because, like what you just said, I felt like I had to fall into what everybody else told me that I was. And the best thing I did for myself was leave so I could actually figure out what my own identity was. And I think that that was
Yeah.
the beautiful part of traveling for me, is figuring that out. And now I'm in the another phase of the adventure of, okay, now how do I figure out how to just settle down, because I also have autoimmune issues and need to have a home address and settle down so my body can rest and take care of itself. But where is that home? What's the best place for me versus what's best for family members that might need me there for them in different ways? And how do I make a decision that's best for me? But it's hard to do that when you see certain people that might need you and all that other stuff. And what if the two are the same? What if it's best for someone else is also what's best for you? Are you
Right.
Yeah, and but
It's
everybody
hard to
always assumes about,
disentangle that.
yeah, yeah, and people are making assumptions for me of why I'm making those decisions and that it's for somebody else. And it's like, well, it could also be for me and for somebody else. That's also
Yeah.
possible. So, yeah, I'm
Mm.
definitely, that's something I just was having a conversation about. So, kismet that you brought that up in this conversation today.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's relevant for all of us who
Mhm.
are seekers in whatever form we take seeking to be, to really disentangle um, expectations that are put upon us, whether it be from family or society, or whatever it is. And so many of us created space from those structures by being black sheep,
Mhm.
by kind of doing the opposite. But also in doing so, we created a bit of a problem, a challenge at least, which is that sometimes we made decisions that were for us, but they were really in opposition to something.
Mhm.
And like then I think moving towards a place where we're actually making decisions that are for us, regardless of the external structures, because sometimes what we want may align with those structures
Mhm.
and sometimes they won't. But allowing ourselves to be able to make those decisions freely, knowingly that we're making them as an extension of our hearts and what our expression is.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
Yeah. Did I find it interesting with everything that you just said? It almost makes the Airbnb portion of your experience make even more sense. I don't know if you've noticed that parallel or if that's conscious or me just putting things together from an outside perspective and imposing an assumption onto you. But where did Airbnb come into the scheme of the fabric of your life?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if this is what you will have assumed, but I think there is a parallel,
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting, which is that I was in a bit of a seesaw between having like going after experiences or things to put on my resume that would kind of like satisfy and in some ways shut up uh, the 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 questioning that was coming from my family,
Mhm.
or even the ways in which the way I had internalized that was creating a lot of like of a scarcity mindset. So just to back it up for a second, before Airbnb and a couple of years before that, I had gone to the Kennedy School at Harvard
Mhm.
as to get a master's in public policy, and I didn't do that because I really, I mean, I do care about public policy, but it was mostly just to get a Harvard degree because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and I tunnel vision went after a degree at Harvard so that I could have the flexibility and the freedom and the space
Mm.
from anyone in my life to be able to tell me that I was a failure or that I didn't know what I was doing, but I really didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
But so I went, got that degree, and then immediately moved to LA and tried to be a travel show host.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't fully believe in myself. I had the scarcity mindset. There was money stuff that was kind of like circulating in my head, and even then, so I gave that up. A friend of mine in Boston had a terminal illness. I went and spent the last 4 months of his life with him.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I still honor him with the work that I do, and he's very present in my life. But then I was really lost. I'd lost my best friend. I didn't have a job. I didn't know what I was doing. The sort of like weight of Harvard as a mechanism to shut people away from me, at least that's what I was thinking, was diminishing.
Mm-hmm.
I needed a new thing to grab onto, to not feel like I was completely lost, and that, other people would, my parents basically wouldn't start questioning me and then creating a deeper weight of insecurity inside of me. So I went and I tunnel vision got a job at Google.
Mm-hmm.
My best friend at the time was in San Francisco, so I was like, okay, this will be healthy for me. I'll be around my friend. I'll get a job at Google that no one in their right mind would ever question as being off the path.
Yes.
But it was such a terrible job.
Right.
And it was a terrible experience.
Mm-hmm.
I got really good at ping pong, which is great.
Yes.
And then, about probably, I was probably 8 months into my time at Google, and I meet this woman named Venetia, who I'd met actually when I was trying to be a travel show host in LA. She had moved to San Francisco to try to not to try. She was one of the first 5 employees at Airbnb, and we met up. And when I heard about what Airbnb was, I was like, whoa, that's awesome. And this is the opposite of Google. Like, this is what I want. I want to be part of this group. This wasn't a move that was meant to satisfy or shut up anyone else. This was about kind of like, I was still aware that I could make money, but it was a way that I could make money and be in the system without it really like being such a huge sacrifice to my value system or to my heart.
Right.
And so this was more like another decision that I was making, like, for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't supposed to, it wasn't intended to be like this incredible success that it was.
Yeah.
I was just there to like connect with great humans and travel the world and be part of something exciting and fun.
So that answers another question that I had of, were you just seeking a job that warranted you traveling, or because this is another thing that I'm going through right now, or is it perhaps best to have the 9 to 5 and then be able to travel as your hobby? Like, when it became your job, did you lose the love of it, or did it just fuel you even more? Because for me, it fueled me even more.
What are you saying? That what happened to you when it fueled?
When I started traveling for work, you know how when your hobby becomes your job and then you start to lose the love of it? That didn't happen when traveling became my job, or a big part of my job. So how did that impact it for you?
Well, okay. Well, first of all, I think I had chosen Airbnb partially because of the travel aspect. So already I was optimizing for travel in my life, because at Google, even though I was playing a lot of ping pong, I wasn't really like exploring the world as much. And that was really kind of tripping me out. And I have never been someone who really bought into the idea that like we should have these periods of time that are set aside for travel, like vacations. I was like, no, I'm not going to live my life like that. So like I was like, that's crazy, because it's such a core part of my it's my core value system is like travel, and I remember even in between my 2 years at the Kennedy School, when people were getting jobs at like the World Bank or internships at the World Bank and really impressive consulting companies, I went and wrote for a travel guide in northern Greece.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I lost money on that in that internship. You know, like I didn't care. I was going to make decisions in my life that optimized for travel. So anyway, um, to get to your question, you know, my time opening up offices internationally for Airbnb, which is what I did, where I was on the road nonstop, and in many ways sacrificing my every minute and every part of my soul and expression to this company.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, it became a blur because I was interacting in all these amazing different cultures, but I'm not sure I was able to like step aside so much and like really
Mm-hmm.
think about what my experience was because I was just go 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 all the
Yeah.
time. Now, one of the things that I think did happen to me as as having a job that had me on the road so much is I really did sacrifice parts of myself and my body. And like, kind of going back to your comment about, you know, in your case your autoimmune disease, but I think all of us have to really be attuning to our bodies when we're on the road, especially because we come in contact with different energies because of time zone differences, because like, you know, being up in the air takes a toll on our bodies because of the food that we're eating, because of, you know, the excitement that we have. We might prioritize doing things like going out and drinking and having all this fun without like necessarily prioritizing sleep and rest and working out. All of those things got magnified when you added the job component into it, because
Mm.
I had a real easy justification why to abandon myself.
Yeah.
And it would have, you know, it's much easier for me to, it is much easier now for me to prioritize myself when I'm on the road, when especially I'm traveling without necessarily having anyone paying me for it.
Right.
So I think that's like that's really, I did lose touch with part of myself when I
Yeah.
was traveling as a result of the job. But also, I think it was a time period in my life where I didn't understand the importance of caring for myself.
Yeah.
And I think now travel is much more pleasant for me because because I can really pay attention to the things that I need to support my body and my mind and my soul.
Do you think so when you're leaving Airbnb, did you continue this nomadic go, 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 constantly travel lifestyle? And you just learned how to balance the best and worst parts of the nomadic lifestyle? What was that for you?
I don't think I figured it out until really not that long ago, but I think I left Airbnb in 2014,
Okay.
and I went and I did the, I wouldn't say the opposite, but let's say kind of the opposite. I went and I cohabitated. I lived with someone. We
Hmm.
you know, someone that I was in a relationship with for 2.5 years
Okay.
in Los Angeles, and I kind of went and did the complete opposite of being on the road and go go go.
Okay.
But never, not until, but it never was integrate. Like I never was able to fully integrate like balance into my life.
Yeah.
Um, so I was in one extreme or another extreme,
Gotcha.
and ultimately I would like, you know, the experience that, for example, that my former partner had with me was that she was like, when we're together, it's like I'm on the um, what's it called, like the bright side of the moon, and when we're apart and you go on your adventures every once in a while, it's like I'm on the dark side of the moon,
Right.
because it was so jarring for her because I wasn't really in alignment with balance. I was like, I would go deep into, you know, cohabitation and nesting, or I would go deep into travel and adventure, and it was almost like I was acting out.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think I didn't really know how to balance those two worlds,
Yeah.
and I'm just now kind of like figuring it out because in many ways, you know, maybe you have this experience. I'd be curious to hear it. Like if you're not caring for balance when you're on the road, bad things will happen. Like
Yes. Yeah.
in your case, maybe like your body starts to shut down
Yeah.
if you're not in awareness of balance stuff. For me, I've had situations on the road where um, the universe makes it very clear to me that I'm not in balance.
I saw a lot of that where there were some crazy stories I think that you had on there. Do you mind going into an example of some of those?
I don't mind, but wait, but I will. I'm just like for the sake of the conversation. I am
Yeah,
curious. Do you share that experience, like where
I do.
if you're not like paying attention to certain
Yeah.
aspects of your body?
I have a feeling that you had a lot more adventure in your travel, than I did because as a solo female traveler, and you're
Mm.
not seeing me in person. I'm a very tiny person,
Uh-huh.
so I'm very aware of my size when I'm traveling alone. So once it's dark out, I don't go outside, type of thing. So I don't have as much like fun drinking, partying stories. I go out during the day and then I very much hibernate once the sun starts to go down. But my body does let me know, okay, we're gonna have you get super duper sick where you can't breathe, you can't think, you can't do anything, and you can't even go out in the daytime, is how my body manifests it's time to slow down and you've stressed yourself out too much and you need to stop. I wish it was a little calmer in the integration of the illness so I could slowly slow down and then when I feel better, pick back up again. But it's always in the extremes with you as well. I think for me, the way that I've dealt with it or the way I've slowed myself down and allowed myself to process the adventures that I'm having in real time is this podcast and the blog that I write, where I'm making
Mm.
sure that I'm documenting everything, that I'm taking it all in. And I just started being on social media because I hate being on my phone all the time. And I truly just want to take the experiences in. I don't want to be living them through my phone. But that's
Right.
been my way of forcing that balance, forcing keeping in touch with people and communicating with people and making sure that people, A, know I'm safe and, that I prevent myself from going into the extremes in that way. So that's been my balance and what's worked for me. But I don't
So you
think my job had me on the road as much as
oh
yours did
well.
too. So that might be helpful as well.
So but just to ask for just make sure I'm understanding.
Yeah,
You have these structural aspects to your life that function as a way to kind of keep you in a zone of stability.
correct. Yes.
And if you didn't have those structural things, would you not trust yourself to maintain the balance yourself?
I don't know because I say that because this is just my big part of my personality. I'm a big
Uh-huh.
type A personality. I also think I have celiac. That's one of my autoimmune
Yeah.
diseases, and I also have a stomach condition that I have to eat at certain times. So my life is nothing but structure because if I don't,
Mm.
then I get very, very ill. So I don't know any other way of being other than to make sure I have that structure. So it's hard for me to answer. I'm sure I would just not speak to people for months on end, and the communication and people panicking for safety reasons would be a big problem that I would face.
Mm.
Because I would just leave my phone behind and wander around if I didn't have to worry about meal times or where I could and couldn't eat and when I had to eat and not eat. So my life is basically mapped out around food
Yeah.
and that. But if I didn't have that, I'm sure I would leave my phone behind, not care if I would wander more, explore more, not be as anxious or nervous about a lot of things because I wouldn't have such severe repercussions if I didn't, and immediate repercussions if I didn't.
I not to trivialize anything that you just said, but
No.
I do resonate a little bit with. I'm new to the structure
Mhm.
game, and for so many years had a real. Well, I still am quite rebellious, but I really struggle with anything that remotely looked like discipline.
Yes.
Like and I can say it's definitely, I hearing you talk about, the necessity around your structure. I recognize that my freewheeling ways is a huge privilege in many ways, but
Yeah.
it also kind of like um, it came from a real deep fear,
Yeah.
and so anyway, I recently, maybe in January, yeah, middle of January, I started playing around with the ketogenic diet
Okay.
as a way to kind of like lose weight before my 40th birthday that happened a month ago.
Oh, happy
And
birthday.
thank you. Um, and I at the time gave up drinking, and I really haven't gotten back to too much drinking either since I. Anyway, point is I started adding structure to my life in the from the food capacity,
Mhm.
and it really opened something up in my life
Yeah.
in terms of um, a sort of like it was like an act of self devotion rather
Okay.
than an act of discipline,
Yeah.
and I found that that was really useful for my balance and
Mhm.
for my overall joy.
Yeah.
But that's a new thing for me.
I think too, as you were talking, I was realizing I have also just always been that way, but I'm also operating from a place of fear. It just had to manifest differently.
Mm-hmm.
Another bit that there's two moments of my life that have completely impacted my personality. And the first one is actually my brother was diagnosed with autism when we were toddlers, and he was in, we're 13 months apart. So I'm 13 months older than he is, and my whole life has been about looking out for him and taking care of him. And I
Mm.
remember as a little kid, my father would totally deny this and say that he never said this, but he did. He would sit me down and teach me that it was my job to take care of my younger siblings and make sure that they were okay. And the one time I was allowed to hit someone would be if someone made fun of my brother. And
Wow.
I think that also, it's if you're not together and if you don't have your type A plus plus personality with you, then some, like, there's danger ahead for your younger siblings. You must always be
Mm.
on guard. And I think they resent me for it nowadays. I wish that I wasn't like this and that it wasn't part of my upbringing to be this way. I wish I had a little bit more of your spirit inside of me, because I think it allows for fun stories, crazy adventures, life lived. I take life a little too seriously sometimes. So I think we're both, it's interesting when people operate from the same place, but it manifests in completely opposite and different ways. So I very
Yeah.
much relate to when you say that you're operating from a place of fear. Because for
Yeah.
me, it was pretty much the same as well. And I wish I had a shot in picking how I was going to have it manifest, because it wouldn't be the way it is for me. But I'm sure you
Yeah.
feel the
It's
same
interesting.
way, but the reverse.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, totally. And hearing you talk, I mean, again, I don't know if this is offensive, um,
It's
but
more likely.
there's a part of me that thinks like um, it's interesting. Like you it's almost like you did need something in order to be able to um, justify
Yeah.
being able to care for yourself
Yeah.
in the context that you grew up, and
Yeah.
it manifested itself in these conditions,
Yeah.
but in many ways like it has allowed you to set aside time to caretake for you.
Now, yeah, within the last year, I finally got there.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It's really
funny how that
interesting.
takes a long time, but it sounds like it took you for something to happen for you to take care
Yeah,
of yourself as well.
yeah. So I was visiting the same friend that I moved to San Francisco for.
Mhm.
His mom, about 8 or 10 years ago now, probably was diagnosed with Alzheimer's,
Okay.
and he's her primary caretaker.
Mhm.
And no, he's got two other brothers, and his dad's still around, but he's really the one that has
Yeah.
taken upon himself to care for his mom, and she's a wonderful woman who I got a chance to know deeply growing up because we grew up a block away from each other,
Right.
and I was visiting them in Santa Marta, Colombia,
Okay.
in January of 2022, and I spent like a week and a half there,
Mm-hmm.
and it was hard to see his mom in the condition that she was, and to see him in a situation where his entire life is really based on making sure she's okay.
Yeah.
And I was like really sad, and well, I didn't know that I was sad, but I was, something was off,
Yeah.
and I went to Bogota, which is, you know, just a flight away, and I was feeling, I know now that I was feeling like this, like, oh, I was like holding on to a lot of emotions that at the time I couldn't really fully place, but I was uncomfortable. And in order to like numb that discomfort, I went on the dating apps and in search of a familiar way of numbing pain and
Yeah.
whatnot. And so I met up with this woman, on, you know, on Bumble, that was supposedly a nomad and into crypto. And so I
Mm.
was like, oh, cool, this could be an interesting fit. We meet up, and it's definitely not the same person as the profile.
Okay.
She's not a nomad and doesn't know anything about crypto.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure it's not the same pictures as that were on the profile. You know, it's not
Yeah.
the same person.
Yeah.
And I, like, out of the spirit of adventure and trying to see the best in people, but also because I'm, you know, I'm probably in some amount of pain that I don't know
Mm.
how to like regulate or be aware of or whatever. I decide to keep moving forward through in the date. I invite her up to my hotel room.
Mm.
We start drinking some wine, and I'm like making sure that she's drinking from my glass and I'm drinking from hers, because some red flags are already going on.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, by 10:30, I'm knocked out. I don't remember anything,
Okay.
and I wake up 20 to 25 hours later, with my cell phone gone, um, and you know, this like container that I normally have all my what's it called, like currencies in, and
Mm.
it's hidden in some like dark deep corner
Yeah.
of my backpack, is on the ground and it's open, and I'm like, oh no. And then I realize, wow, I've been gone for a long time. I checked, you know, because of some of the conversations we were having, I checked my crypto accounts, and they'd all been wiped, because this drug that they gave me, it's called burundanga on the streets. It's
Okay.
also called scopolamine. Um, it makes you like a zombie. So like they'll they can, I say they because I imagine it's not just her.
Yeah.
They suggest, hey, would you like to,
Yeah.
you know, provide us with your passwords? And you're like, sure.
Yeah. Hui.
And more, you know, it was very expensive therapy,
Mm. I can imagine.
but it really was therapy, because in many ways, first of all, I really did come close to dying, because in Colombia they don't try to kill you, but they can accidentally overdose you.
Right.
And the amount of time that I was knocked out is a sign that I was pretty heavily dosed.
Yeah.
And it was like a real moment to reflect on the ways in which I wasn't coming back to my own self and paying attention to my body and paying attention to my emotions, and seeking to numb rather than to process, and to you know, and to, yeah, like move through emotions rather than to disassociate from them. Um, it also was a, you know, I think a great lesson in how much money, while I'm thankful that I have been successful, also I think at that time it was becoming this thing in my mind where it became like a source of my identity in a way,
Yeah.
like, and it was a nice reminder that actually this this it wasn't why I joined Airbnb. I just happened to get lucky, and you know, it's never been what I've optimized for in my life, and all of a sudden I was at that time like becoming more identified with it.
Yeah.
So that was a great reminder too of that.
Yeah. That seems like a crazy we are approaching the end of our time, and I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of what there is for us to chat about. I have always end each episode with asking my guests the same rapid fire questions.
Sure,
But I also want to just say thank you for this conversation because I
of
think
course.
I'm going to have family. You've asked me questions that no one has ever asked me before. No one's cared to know information about me like this before. So I think family members and friends are going to learn something about me, even though we're supposed to be here learning about you. So thank you for this wonderful opportunity to talk some things through that I have to sort through in my head. I really appreciate
Well, it's been a pleasure getting to know you, and I hope that you will share more of you because I think that's the world actually wants that too.
it. I appreciate that. I have to, we're going to use that as a quote and a sound bite for everything moving forward. But my wrap up questions are always the same, and it's the eat, explore, love esque vein. What is your favorite food city that you've ever visited?
I'll say a region in Thailand, which is Isan.
Okay. And do you prefer a vacation that requires you to be active or relax?
Mm. Man, active.
Okay. I had a feeling that would be your answer. And would you say that story in of that location that you just mentioned, is that the city where you learned the most about yourself, or is there another city where you learned the most about yourself?
I think it would be a combination of that and Los Angeles, where I actually wasn't traveling, but I was like,
Living.
living.
Yeah, good answer. All right. Now tell us, Andres, where can everybody find you and your content that you are creating, and pitch your book for us, please, before we go.
Sure. So I'm Schabelmania on everything. So Schabelmania.
Okay.
You'll find my travel content on TikTok and YouTube,
Perfect.
and then on Instagram I have a comedic character and an inspirational character.
Okay.
And then my book that's coming out in December is called Captain's Wanted.
Okay.
It's a character's journey to find himself, and it's based loosely on my interpretation of my friend who passed away
Mm.
from cancer back in the day. His last words on earth were, "I am the captain of this ship." And
Mhm.
so I interpret what that means for helping people be inspired to maybe find their own captain inside of themselves.
I want a signed copy of that, please. When
You
that
will
is
get one.
awesome. So exciting. All right. Thank you so much. We're gonna have to do a part two. You're gonna have to come back. Whether
Whenever
you
you
want
want.
to or not. I'm making you come back.
I'm in.
Perfect. All right. It was so nice meeting you, Andres. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this conversation between Andres and myself. All the links and social media handles that he mentioned can be found in the description details of this episode. I definitely need to figure out a way to have him back because I didn't even begin to ask a fraction of the questions I meant to ask him about, and I feel like there was a lot more to be said. So make sure to stay tuned, and hopefully we'll be able to get him back for another episode on Eat, Explore, Love the podcast. Till next time. Thank you for joining me this week for all the fun journeys and lessons learned on my big adventure called life. For more information on the different cities discussed, check out the blog posts on hieatexplorelove.com, posted every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you have any questions or fun stories to share, feel free to reach out at hieatexplorelove@gmail.com. Until next week, remember to eat well, explore the world, and love yourself. See you next time. This episode is produced, scripted, and edited by me, Ashley. Special thanks to Sarah Mientka.